Hey, Shalom, giving no praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemukah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, and honor your brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So I'm the brother Ibadi coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of our power, Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemukah HaKodash. Giving no praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemukah HaKodash. And in this particular lesson, this particular video, I wanted to go into this topic here that's presented to us by Russia Today. And they claim that the Native American nation has been one of the greatest or one of the most bombed nations within the world, right? Well, obviously, we're going to get into some precepts on that, and we're going to get into some edification off of the back of that. Let's get into it. So it says, after 900 nuclear tests on our land, the United States wants to ethnically cleanse us, meet the most bombed nation within the world, right? So, you know, you got it to where Esau, as the scripture saith, when he was going to expand his borders within the book of Malachi, the first chapter, he was going to be expanding it, and he's as deaf and cannot be satisfied. And this is the nature of the red Hebrew Edomite, man. You've seen a multitude, a plethora of different examples where this guy, when he wants something, goes out there, he takes it, and he's not really worried about the consequences, man. Right, they don't think about the consequences of their actions because the Most High has put it within their spirit to be the wicked. They're the exemplification of iniquity within the earth, and within this one example, we can see that there is a disdain, if disdain is a word, or ignorance, a willingly ignorance of the red Hebrew Edomite to have any impact in terms of their actions. They don't care about what they do within the world. They're not worried about who they kill or who they destroy within the world. You think about a beast, that's how a beast behaves, man. Right? A bear don't really care if it's a kid or adult that walks within his territory, and when it lets loose. That's the same thing with this man Esau, and that's why he's likened unto that great red dragon, because the dragon don't give two cares whether it be the old man that gets oppressed, whether it be a whole nation that gets oppressed, whether it be a single person that drops dead, or a whole multitude of different people that drops dead, right? That's why scripture says what it says. And we can see in this example, man, these Native American Indians, not only have they had to suffer at the hands of Esau for all of their land that they had that got stolen, right? The buffalo that they had that Esau killed and made sport off of the back of that, all of the different sufferings that they've had to endure underneath the red Hebrew Edomite, they've also had to endure the testing of Esau's sword, which the scripture says Esau was blessed with a sword, the ICBM nuclear missiles. And here you can see the example of them testing those particular weapons, and they've destroyed a whole nation off of the back of that. So it says 900 nuclear tests on our land. All right, so we read that bit. Native American nation's land was turned into a nuclear test site. Now they suffer from illness. Now it's interesting how these different things are termed, right? They suffer from illness. Yeah, I wonder what illness that is, like cancer, right? Which is, once you got the big C, you're pretty much done, man. You're through, okay? Right? You can go into the herbs and everything, but that's one thing you don't want the doctor to hear to say. You don't want to go into the general practitioner, the GP or the doctor, and you ask him, what's wrong with me, and they say cancer. That's one of the things you don't want to hear. So these Native American Indians, they're not suffering like they're coughing and they're gonna get over it in a couple of weeks' time. They got what's known as terminal illnesses. Okay, we can pretty much come to that conclusion. Pretty much come to the conclusion that they're gonna have terminal illnesses, right? Off of the back of Esau's testing, which the scripture says he's blessed with a sword. And what do you do with a sword? You go out there, you destroy people, man. Okay, you destroy the people, right? The most nuclear bomb nation on the planet is the unwanted accolade claimed by the Shoshone Native American tribe, Jake's Israelites. This has devastating effects for the community. The RT spokes, Russia Today spoke with one of the campaigners fighting for justice. They are occupying our land, right? They've occupied the earth. They've gone out there throughout the four corners of the earth. They've occupied the earth. The scripture says that he expands his borders and he cannot be satisfied. That's the red Hebrew Edomite, man. That's Esau, right? Here it is. He's been given power over the world. He's not satisfied. Guy can't chill. He can't relax. Right? He's got to have more, whether it be resources, right? Whether it's the oil within your nation, whether it be superiority. So they go out there, they test these ICBMs so that they can have superiority over these other nations such as Russia and so on and so forth, for which Russia, they're Edomites too. All right, but you better believe there's going to be a back and forth in between Russia and Babylon for the upper hand, and that's going to lead to the World War III. Continuing here, they're stealing our opportunities, and you see that throughout the four corners of the earth. Out there within the Congo, you got kids 4 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, mining lithium so they can have their so-called electric future. That's what's happening out there. Here it is, they're calling it green energy and all this, that, and the third. But the reality of the situation is that many people are suffering, man. Many people are suffering at the behest of this so-called industrial revolution, right? That they're going to try to implement in the next, really, they're implementing it right now. They're stealing our opportunities. We're expecting to die because of that. And that's what's happened since Esau's been in power, man. Their so-called cultural revolutions has led to immorality and death. Their so-called technological advancements have led to what? Degeneracy and even more death, right? People dying at all time, right? Because of cancer. People are getting the zappo from these infrared and microwave frequencies that get beamed off from your phone. All this, that, all of the different things that Esau's brought within the earth. They haven't brought forth. You can have a little bit of fun for a certain amount of time with your iPhone or whatever, but it's gonna bring about, pancreatic cancer or whatever the situation may be, man. Because it's beaming all kind of radio frequency waves into your pelvis, right? And then people wonder why they got problems when they get older, right? But going back onto this point here, you got these jakes out here that have suffered for a very long time, all right, because of Esau. Over a period of just over 40 years, they've had 928 tests conducted there, around 100 in the atmosphere and 800 underground, resulting in nuclear fallout. So you got what's known as a nuclear winter out there within that particular land. They got a nuclear fallout, right, of around 620 kilotons, according to the 2009 study. Continuing here, it says, according to the, in comparison, now check this out, right? Because everybody likes to speak about Hiroshima or Nagasaki, but check it out. It's Jake that suffered the most at the hands of Esau's ICBMs, right? Because they're saying 620 kilotons of nuclear fallout in amongst these Native Americans, and there was only a comparative 13 kilotons of fallout in Hiroshima that was bombed in 1945. You see that? This is obviously a massive health risk. No, this is detrimental, man. This is detrimental. You got all of this speak about, pollution and green earth and all of this madness, but Esau's the greatest polluter, right? Especially the United States Army, and this is just another example, man. So now let's go into some precepts. Let's start here within the book of Isaiah, the 24th chapter. And I'm going to start here. Isaiah 24:5, it says, the earth also is defiled underneath the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed laws and have changed ordinances, and because they've broken the everlasting covenant. So wherever Esau goes, that death is going to follow, man. Let me get another precept. Let's go to the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. Habakkuk, the second chapter, Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, for the vision is yet thrown up. No. Let's go straight to the point. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also, because he transgressed by wine. So the philosophy, what's the philosophy? Oh, we got to go out there and we got to protect national interests. But at the end of the day, what's in Esau's heart, right? Nothing but, a murderous, right? A ravening wolf, for a lack of a better example. Just an individual that just wants to have and kill and have, man. Right? A guy that cannot be satisfied. Can't keep it in his own household. You think they was testing them bombs out, right, just to keep them in a museum? No, they're just testing them bombs out so they can go out there and conquer particular areas, man, within the world. Whether it be out there, like they're trying to take, Iran. They've been trying to have Iran for the longest time, right? It's all underneath the name of national security. But national security, what national security do you need when you got the largest fleet of aircraft carriers within the world? No, what you want is international dominance, man. And they don't care who's in the way, who they're going to destroy, who's in the way of their so-called interests, man. Okay? Just so happens it was a bunch of Jakes that was in the way. Okay, well, whatever. That's the attitude of Esau. Okay, so what? So what if some Native American Indians drop dead as a result of our so-called interests, man? They don't care about that, right? What they're concerned about is furthering their enterprise. The scripture talks about how the Most High was going to disappoint their enterprise, which ultimately is the NWO. And you better believe that American Army is a major proponent in that NWO, man. Yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, right? That's why they was testing them ICBMs out there amongst the Native Americans, because guess what? They ain't trying to stay out there within their own land of the, that they've taken from, they've stolen from the Native American Indian. They ain't just trying to stay out there within America. They're trying to expand as much as physically possible, which ultimately they're trying to have everybody underneath a one world rule, which those ICBMs, like I mentioned, they're a part of that. Who enlarges his desires as hell and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto himself all people, and heapeth, Salaki, I missed a part of them. Who enlarges his desires as hell and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto himself all nations and heapeth unto himself all people. So this man's a damn devil, man. It's got to be destroyed, right? For all the bloodshed of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. And that's just one example. So with that, I'm going to say, all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shai Bashim Kohakodash, double honors unto the apostles, a great millstone, and honor your brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.